Welcome to the Genie Academy. Today we are going to learn how to write a report or summary. Generally, this kind of questions are asked in IELTS Writing Task 1. Let's see it in detail. So first of all, in writing task 1, if you are an academic student, you will have to write a report. You will be given an infographics and you are supposed to write a minimum of 150 words. There is no limitation for the maximum number of words, but it is advisable not to go beyond 100. You will have only 20 minutes to write the examples or write the answer. And the weightage for task 1 is 1/3, means 33%. There are different types of questions which can be asked. First of all, I have written here, it may be bar graph, line graph, pie chart, map, tables, and even process diagram. Process diagrams are also called flowchart diagram. Now, the fourth one I have written mixed diagram. It means you may be asked any two of these in a single question. Like there may be one bar graph and one pie chart. There may be one map or one table and a pie chart. So you will have to do what? You will have to compare both the diagrams or both the infographics and give a detailed information about the thing. Next, we will have the structure. So you will be given one or more bar graphs or line graphs. Not only bar graphs or line graphs, even tables, pie charts. And your task is to describe the information given in the infographics by writing a 150-word report. You should not write less than 150 because this is the minimum requirement. And here, there is no need to give your own opinion. Whatever is given in the infographics, just explain the thing. You should not go beyond 20 minutes. If you are taking more than 20 minutes in completing task 1, you will run out of time while writing essay or task 2. Next, what are the skills which are going to be tested? First of all, your ability to objectively describe some graphic information. As I have already mentioned, you will have an infographics and you need to comprehend the complete data given. Once you are clear with it or once you are done with it, then you will have to explain the same in your own words. It is also going to be checked whether you can compare and show contrasting features on it. We are not supposed to give our own opinion, which I have already mentioned, and the language of graph description should be used because it is a bit different than our normal sentence. So you need to focus on all these things. What are the challenges which we are going to? The most important of all is the lexical resource. It means vocabulary. We have to use a range of appropriate vocabulary while writing the answer. And I have already mentioned here that we should write a minimum of 150 words. So don't write less than that. We have to explain the whole graph adequately, focusing on the important trends presented in the graphic information. But this doesn't mean that we have to write everything. No, only the significant trends. And the fifth one I have written here, the language of graphical representation. Here I have said language of graphical representation. It means I have already mentioned here that the language of representing a graph is really different than our normal sentences. We will have to be mindful and then only we can explain the thing. Now, let's see the next one. Do's and don'ts. There are some do's and don'ts which we need to follow. In completing this task, it is important that we fully describe all of the graphic information. This doesn't mean that you should note every detail. No, it's not really required. You need to only summarize the graph in meaningful segments. In other words, I can say that we have to describe the significant trends in our report and never give your opinion. It's not really required. Explain the complete infographics adequately. Don't write less than 150 words. We have already seen these points earlier. And we have to use proper cohesive devices, which are also called linking words, with the help of which we can logically organize the idea. The sentences of passive voice and complex structure should be used because we have to show we are proficient users of the language and we are quite comfortable with different sentence structures. It doesn't mean whether we are using simple sentences, compound sentences, or complex ones. When we are talking about lexical resources, it means vocabulary. We are supposed to use only formal and standard lexical resources, not the normal ones. Use proper language of graphical representation and always proofread your answers, means evaluate your answers before submission. You will have, or you can plan your answer so that you can get 2 or 3 minutes at the end so that you can go through the answer and try to make changes if there is any required or if it is required. Okay. Now let's move to the next one. Next slide. Now the next slide is how can paragraph should be written. Okay. So instead of how can paragraph should be written, the topic should be how many paragraphs should be. So it should be here we can write how many paragraphs, not how. Yeah. How many paragraphs should be written? So minimum 2 paragraphs you can minimum, and for maximum I can say 4 paragraphs can be easily written. First of all, we need to write the introduction where we'll be paraphrasing the statement. Paraphrasing the statement is what? We are writing the same information what we are going to see in the question. Only we need to change the word and the sentence structure. That's it. Nothing else is required. Once you have paraphrased the statement, then write the overall or overview. Okay, it means you need to write what is happening overall. What is the most significant feature? So these things we need to write. Now, in body paragraph 1, we can write either one paragraph, body paragraph, or two different body. So here we can categorize the data on the basis of similarities and differences. And coming to the conclusion, so it's completely up to you. If you wish, you can write it in the introduction after the paraphrase statement or at the end of this. In case of math, diagrams, and flowcharts, it should be written as a claim. Very good. Now, coming to the next slide. Here it is. Step 1. First, we need to plan the end, means address the topic first. Okay. Then determine the topic. What is it all about? What the complete infographics all about? That I am asking you. And this is the third one. Make notes about comparison. And fourth, make notes about details. So these two steps I'm not going to explain right now. We will be saying these topics later. First, let's go ahead with address the task. Address the task means what? You need to understand what kind of graphic is given. Okay. What is it all about? And if we have covered these two topics, then we can jump to the third. So first, let's see the first one here. Suppose I'm going to see here example 1 and just showing it to you also. A question is given. What kind of question is it? First ask yourself. Line graph, bar graph, what? Anyone can easily recognize it. It is a kind of bar graph. Okay. So we need to say, I'm showing you the next slide. Here it is. Here, what kind of infographics is it? Anyone can say it's quite easy. Okay. So one can say that it's line graph. Okay. Now coming to the third one here, it is also an example of line graph. Fourth one, it is an example of bar graph. It is an example of pie chart. So this way we need to identify. Here it is a table graph. Here it is the pie chart again. Okay. So this way we can recognize the types of infographics too. Once it is done, then you need to brainstorm the idea. Ask yourself what, when, why, where, these kind of questions. Okay. So first of all, I'm going to show you here the graphic type. So anyone can say what is it? It is graph bar. Okay. What is the title of it? So we can say na average daily sales by number of topics. It can be easily written. Okay. Now, what is it all about? What is it all about means what is given about it, right? So we can say it is all about the average daily sales of selected food items. Clear? Now, where? We can answer where. So the place is Worcester Cafe. Okay, when? They have not mentioned any time. Okay, the time is also given. Winter and summer. Got it? So what should be the topic? We need to understand. We need to understand that. It means what? Topic should be the average number of servings of certain food items. sold daily in the winter and the summer. That's it. Nothing else is really required. So it is so easy. You will have to understand the thing. Now,